the chemicals are real, and that's what people get wrong at the hospitals. But they know that already. I mean, that's why there's drugs. But they can't validate why it's so powerful and why there's an alter reality and so forth. So here are do not before I sleep. Uh, Hot shower is good. Hot baths are really good. Try some sea salt. Try some dead sea salt. That stuff is really good. Or Efron. I think it's called Efron. Something like that. Um, uh, don't try too much aromatic stuff before you go to sleep. If you're gonna have one of those kind of showers, I know it might, the scent might throw you off. But when you do get better at this, you'll be able to shut off all of these senses. And it just takes time. It's just like how the Samoa warriors are able to take pain. They turn off the receptors in their brain. You can turn off any receptor in your brain. Don't smoke before you sleep. No cold showers. It relaxes your muscles, but it sometimes might induce. It doesn't relax your muscles. It induces alertness, and nicotine from smoking causes alertness and the activation of neurons in your brain, more precisely the alleviation of withdrawal, not the excitation of stimulus. And so I mean, addiction makes you stay awake. Remember, when a person becomes addicted to something, it's always about alleviation. Then soon after the cigarette withdrawal starts, this will keep you up again. So do know about this time frame. Try to calculate how many cigarettes you need a day, and then have one within that time frame, or like 10 minutes an extension of it. So it's like if you need one every 40 minutes, try to go to sleep 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and then you have that extra 10 minutes to get to sleep. As you will find that it takes at least 25 minutes for sleep, or 10 to 25 minutes for smokers to go to sleep. So try to have that extra cushion. And then time it so that because if you go to sleep at around 30 minutes and then 10 minutes later you can't get to sleep because it takes you 15 minutes to get to sleep, withdrawal might kick in. But by then, I mean, it's a trial and error effort. By then, you might think to yourself, and you might say, "Well, all my senses are deadened at that time, so it doesn't matter." So you're just gonna have to find out yourself. Do not drink caffeine 3 to 4 hours before you sleep. At least 3 to 4 hours before you sleep. And if you find that you're working so hard that you're conking out drinking caffeine 1 or 2 hours before, that means it doesn't work. So, I mean, it's really bad for your liver, for your heart rate, for your blood pressure. It causes hypertension, and I don't know if it's called hypernemia, but I know it does bad things to your blood, and it thins it for one, which is not good, and because your blood is your actually your fuel of your entire body, and do not exercise 3 hours before you sleep. Your metabolism will keep you up. Try not to eat before you sleep. It'll make you not. It will make you fat or overweight. Danger. The danger is it doesn't digest properly, so it's really not good for your colon and your intestines. And never watch something violent or any type of mentally stimulating or profoundly sad programs before you sleep, especially any shows that have that you have pre-recorded, because These shows often have within design a facet of anticipation, and will watch it until it ends. And you will watch it till it ends because you've been waiting to see it. So that's no good. And especially, they always cut you off when something exciting is about to happen next. So I mean, that's really bad. So try to do that half an hour to an hour before you sleep. Do something relaxing like a hobby or something. Journals actually help a lot because it helps you recite your day memories, and meaning it helps filter memories. Journals, meaning that you'll be able to do less when you go to sleep. And in the spirit world. So, I mean, there's just technology that we need to discover. And basically, why we can't dream anymore. I think I do cover that later on in another segment. Why we can't dream as much because of above circumstances. Restrictions. Restrictions is better. Restrictions. Okay, yeah. Awesome. Now. Okay, so when you go to sleep, what actually happens is that your brain begins to consolidate memories that have been going on through the day. I do cover it actually, but only this part. And it's at the next one. See, but the title is really bad. So, Q-17. You said fear response, insomnia, night terrors, sleep paralysis, and possession by spirits waking me up. So, basically, it's not a really good description. I apologize, but here it is. Your brain consolidates memories when you go to sleep. This is a psychological fact. It's a biological process, and what actually happens is that your brain has long-term and short-term memory. So, before it decides to do the long-term memory, it stores everything into the short-term memory. So, I do believe there is another process before this, because it's impossible to store everything in your short-term memory, because there has to be some way to filter out the non-essential things. So, I mean, we'll just keep it at what I learned in Psychology 3000. So, basically, it takes in the memory, it filters it, and it compares it to a schema or a template in your long-term memory from the other community of neurons of what's important and what's not. Then it collects memory, it separates them, and then it puts the common memories with the common memories, and if it's an enhancement to those memories, it incorporates it into the long-term memory, which then shoots it up into another community of neurons where there will be further dendrites, axons connected to them, making the connection or the association stronger. If it's not common, by default, it'll store it into the short-term memory, and if it seems logical, it'll store it into long-term memory. But for some reason, it gets stored for a few days into something like short-term, long-term memory, mid-term memory, let's say. And then if it finds that it's useful, it does. Now, this can happen by accident if you memorize it, if you trigger your brain to store it, and it's repetition. So, I mean, much like how I told you about brain suggestions and advertising and how the system works and how they force you to remember how to spend money, how to look to spend more money and stuff like that. Well, that's in another paper. But anyways, repetition allows you to store memory. So what happens is when you're going to sleep, right before you go to sleep, why people have problems going to sleep is that they're cycling thoughts in their brains because they're ready to go into their spirit world. And what happens is that your brain is cycling things that are usually bad first. And because this world has negative energy, there's going to be negative things happening that are energetic. I mean, you could see people like, okay, very, very poor example. People farting and they don't say excuse me, and it's loud. Brrr! Sometimes people laugh and sometimes people don't say anything. Well, we can actually see that energy leaving the body. But that's just a poor example, because farting is very natural. Like, everything has a biopsychic energy field, whether it's heat, which is thermal, it goes away, or it's psychic and it has an imprint onto it. So negative energy happens, and then people associate it with demons and with being demonic. There's a big difference between demon and being demonic, and negative energy and being spirits. Spirits being human, demons being aliens, and demonic just being a negative energy force, which is satanic, which has nothing to do with the demons. It's just negative energy, and negative energy is everywhere. It's everywhere. You're swearing, and you're just doing things that are negative. But when you're doing chaotic things, like you're like, you get angry, so bang, you smash a tree. Now that's primitive. So that's life. It's an apple tree, right? So I mean, it gives off energy. The tree gets angry, and it shoots negative energy right back to you. So it everything has life. Anything that has energy gives off energy, takes in energy, consumes energy, expels energy, and that can react. And that reacting includes hitting you back with psychic energy. So I mean, when you're sleeping in there and these things happen, you could actually see these spirits, or you can actually see spirits, plus you can see ghosts, plus you can see negative energy, plus you can see primitive things. Like, if you see a guy hitting a tree, it gives off energy, so it kind of like traumatizes you. But it doesn't traumatize you because you can't see it, but you can sense it. And because you can sense it, it puts an effect into you. But because we've been doing this for so long, that we just ignore it. And that's why we can go to sleep. But some things that are different, that are unusual, those are the things that prevent you from sleeping. And if it bothers you enough, it might be bad karma. That's what prevents you from sleeping too. So you're sitting there, and you're making false assumptions and negative insinuations, and you can't really think that that's what's going on. But that is what's going on. And if you're doing bad things, you're going to remember before you go to sleep. And the first thing that you remember when you do go to sleep is when you leave,